This week in the conversation, I have the privilege to welcome out of Atlanta, Georgia, an impeccable writer. Her name is Rashmi Das. She's written a compelling book titled From Life's Cove, Laughs, Music, and More. Interesting conversation. But before we get into the video, I just want to remind everyone that it's important to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you do, don't forget to click the notification bell so that way every time a video is posted, it'll go directly into your portable. So let's get started.
Okay.
Again, my name is Ardain Isma, and I'm here this afternoon with an impeccable author. She's joining me from Atlanta, Georgia. And we're going to be talking about her fantastic book titled From Life's Cove, Laughs, Music, and More. Rashmi, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much.
All right, Rashmi, would you please tell the viewers of CSMS Magazine who is Rashmi Bora Das?
Okay, I am Rashmi Bora and settled in the suburbs of Atlanta with my husband and my 25-year-old son. Actually, I was born in the northeastern state of Assam in India, very popular, known for the lush tea gardens.
Okay.
And I moved to the United States in my early 20s.
Okay.
And I did a master's here in public administration from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville.
Right.
And writing is my passion. I have contributed to several platforms and I have my personal blog. And just recently, I published my first book, From Life's Cove, Laughs, Musings, and More. And I'm on the way to writing my second book, which is going to be a work of fiction. And I'm very happy to be on your show. Thank you so much.
All right, very good. What a compelling introduction. So, From Life Cove, Laugh, Music, and More, I read the book. Quite intriguing. Also, it's a book that can make you laugh all the way to your ears. Yeah. Because you know, some of the things you say, I'm a husband myself. So I have a woman sleeping by my side together, and it's been more than 30 years. So I know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to snoring. Okay. You said, let me just try to get it right. I have an honest confession to make.
Sure.
And your sympathy goes out to these women who have to sleep completely, whose sleep will be completely disrupted because of the spouse snoring. So my question is, are you among these women?
Should I be honest or dishonest? Let me be honest. It has happened a few times. It's happened a few times, and yeah, I usually, when that happens, I try to settle in for a bit, and then I said, oh no, let me move maybe to the guest room. So that does happen. And that's why I said, with all apologies, I don't have, any bad feelings towards anybody, but this is what happens.
I remember once my wife was really battling me with the question of snoring.
Right.
But it's been some time that I haven't heard her say anything about that. And last week I said, well, did I stop snoring? He said, yeah, for some reason, I don't know. I don't hear anything anymore. I said, maybe I'm lucky though. Yeah. But when she snores, I say nothing. But it's really a huge problem. In your research, Rashmi, have you encountered a lot of problems like this?
Not really. Not really. You mean problems with regard to?
To snoring. Can snoring be such a
No.
disruption to the point where it can create malaise
No,
in the marriage? No?
I don't think so.
Okay. So one thing you say that is very, very, that caught my attention. Let me see if I can get it right. Because you say that your own personal observations, okay, in writing this book, so you use humor.
Exactly.
Okay. You do that precisely to explore different scenarios,
Right.
from children embarrassing their parents
Correct.
and husband acting smart, big boss. And, let me ask you something. And these are things that are real, by the way, Rashmi. Okay. When you started thinking about writing this book,
Mhm.
did you do those research to make sure that everything that you'll say, not only you'll write it down in a way that will not put someone in a very awkward predicament, but also you write it in a way that is fun, enjoying, because everyone who reads this book will see himself or herself in the story.
Right. Exactly. Actually, to tell you, I have a passion for writing, but then I enjoy writing facts rather than fiction because I believe that truth or reality is stranger than fiction. And I observe a lot. Like, I am very much a people person. Like, I look around what is happening. I like talking to people, and those observations, I weave them into stories. In fact, since I write, if you look into my blog, it's all fiction. Sorry, it's all facts. Though I have a section where I've shared a few of my poems, but and it is ironic actually. Though I put humor in my pieces, I personally do not have a good sense of humor because as I grew up, my family would always tell me, oh, you don't even know what is a joke from reality because you have those fat tears rolling down whenever someone pulls your leg. But somehow, I don't know, the humor came into my writings because I was exploring like scenarios that, happen in our lives. And I thought, maybe people will be able to relate to those incidents because they happen in every family. Like in one of the chapters, I wrote about things that are repeated down the generations. And
Correct.
and I was observing something that my father did. Okay, it's a repetition what my husband does. And one generation further, I saw that even my son was doing the same thing. So I said, oh, this is just history repeating itself. And one thing I always, I maintain that even though I try to put humor in my writings or they come in naturally, it's not no malice directed towards anybody. Like, I feel humor, it's an antidote to ease our stress.
That's
And that
true.
is why, yes, and I think that just comes into my writing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've noticed in the book, like the first 16 chapters,
Uh-huh.
like humor comes in there. But
Mm-hmm.
in the last four chapters, I take a slightly serious tone as I move into a different, different mood, I would say.
So my next question is, in the last four chapters of the book,
Right.
you really serious because you raised some very important issues.
Mhm.
The first one is the one that when you talk about the dichotomy between uh, reason and faith.
Right.
Can you teach our audience a little bit the difference between the two?
Yes, Reason and Faith, that chapter was really inspired by a real life incident, as I had mentioned there. Like, the dichotomy between reason and faith, will always continue because we have people on both sides arguing. Some say, you need to use logic. The other side says you need to have faith. And I ended up writing this chapter because an incident happened in my real life,
Mm-hmm.
and it all has got to this with this wedding band that I'm wearing right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had once gone to a supermarket, and I just lost the ring. And then, rather than it being the value of the ring, it was more of a sentimental value because it was my wedding ring. And
Mm-hmm.
then, now to give you a background, like, my religion is Hinduism,
Okay.
and we believe in Lord Ganesh, who is supposed to be the remover of obstacles.
Okay.
And ever since I grew up, there was a belief that, okay, if you lose something, you come and light a lamp in front of God, and he helps you find that. So some people may believe, some may not. So it is entirely personal. But at that particular incident, that's what happened to me. I was feeling extremely sad that I had lost my wedding ring. So I just come home and I light a lamp in front of the idol, and 3 days later I go back to the store, and I go to the lost and found department, and I said, I've lost my ring. And they said, can you describe it, ma'am? So I described the ring, and up comes the ring out. Now, a cold chill just ran down my spine, because I was not expecting it, because it is a huge store. There are so many, about 25 aisles. And then, I thought, I said, okay, now what is the reason behind this? Is it the efficiency of the supermarket stuff that they found a small, tiny ring in a huge place? Or was it faith? And then, it is very difficult to come to a logical conclusion, because, some people might think that, I'm being absurd and I'm being illogical. But during that particular incident, I thought perhaps it was faith. And I strongly believe that, in our lives, if we have faith in something, that really helps us move through obstacles. We all go through bad phases. The storms of life is not smooth. It's a roller coaster ride. But if we do not have faith, all the time, if we just think about reason, I don't think it'll help us move through.
Let me ask you this now, Rashmi. Is it fair to say that although there's a difference between reason and faith, but reason will empower faith? Can we say that?
I think, they come hand in hand. I think it is exactly, there is no logical conclusion, as I say. Yes, that's a really hard question. I think at a particular moment, you've got to decide, maybe, whatever you feel is the stronger one. But I would go with both. I would, both reason and faith. There's circumstances when you have to use reason. And there are circumstances when you have faith. It's, your belief in something.
Okay. The other thing is something that you say, you talk about the importance of forgiveness. Okay. We all know that because we are adults.
Right.
That's why we teach our children. And forgiveness is the key to understand, a key to maintain a beautiful human interaction.
Right.
So why do you think it was very important to devote a part of your book to forgiveness?
Okay, there is another story. As I said, actually, each of my chapters in my book is inspired by a real life incident.
Right.
Now, what happened was that one night I was just trying my best to go to sleep, and I wasn't sleeping. I was not feeling too well, and I always have the Kindle next to my bed. And I just got it, and I was just skimming through a few articles in the Washington Post.
Okay.
And you will not believe that it's a coincidence. And there was this chapter on how to get sleep. And the writer, she mentioned that forgiveness is one thing, that people who forgive others and who do not hold grudges against anybody, they fall asleep peacefully at night. So I read through that chapter, and they made some very important points. They said sometimes we do certain things wrong, but we forgive ourselves easily. But it is always hard to, forgive other people for, the things that they had done to hurt us. But if we really, let them go, yes, it says that, do not forget, because as they say, once bitten, twice shy. If someone has really hurt you badly, I wouldn't say that don't forget about that incident, but at the same time, don't hold grudges against that person. And this forgiveness chapter is also related to something that my mother had always used to tell us. Like
Really?
Sometimes, yes, when we were growing up, it would sometimes get on our nerves, because when we would, be angry with somebody, she would say, oh yes, to make a mistake, that's human. So, to err is human, to forgive, divine, as they say. And she would tell us, don't hold a grudge against somebody. Everyone makes mistakes. And then at the time, perhaps, it was really annoying because when you grow up, you're teenagers, you don't like all those, the parenting gospel that comes to you. But now, as I've, over the years, I'm in my 50s now, that's what I feel is very important, because I myself, sometimes I would be upset with some people because, I think, you'll be an outlier if no one has hurt you any time. Yes, we all get hurt, but slowly, it may take time, but slowly, if you go through the process, it is some sort of a cleansing. I say, let go of the bad thoughts, and you'd say, oh, it's fine, that person has made a mistake, but I'll not hold the grudges against that person. I think it gives you a lot of mental peace. And then, even referring to the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most revered texts of Hinduism, that talks a lot about forgiveness. So, I thought it would be lovely to write a chapter on this, based on personal experiences.
Now, one more question on that. It's a very close question there.
Sure.
Rashmi, do you think it's realistic that one single heart can love and hate the same person at the same time?
I think I haven't faced a harder question than this in any examination. But yes, it is a very interesting question. I think, yes, we are all human beings. So I think there are phases, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, look, hate is a word which I think it's a very strong word.
It is.
Yes, I wouldn't want to, use that word. Maybe I would say dislike. But, that brings me to a very important point. In fact, a few days ago, I was talking about something, not something, like a character in some film. And then I was talking to my son. And then I said, there is a difference in one thing. Yes, you can love and hate a person at the same time in this scenario, that you love the person, but you dislike the person's habits. You get me? I may love somebody.
Another word, I was going to use the word disapproval. And the reason why it hurts you, because you keep and say, I wish he didn't do that. I wish she didn't do that.
That's right. Absolutely. Because I was telling my son the other day, I said, I love you so much. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Mm-hmm. But there may be certain habits of yours that I may dislike, but that does not mean that I dislike you. I dislike your habits. And the two things are, you separate the person from his habits. But yeah, we are all human. It is difficult, I think, to have both feelings at the same time.
I know, Rashmi. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know that you mentioned in the introduction that you're currently working on a work of fiction.
Yes, I am. I'm planning on writing a series of short stories. I've just got it started on them. Mm-hmm. I did write a few stories earlier. I have not shared them publicly, but it was my husband's idea, basically. He said, you observe people so much, and you like to look around, you like to talk to people so much, so read them into stories. So I do not know when that book will see the light of day, but hopefully.
I'm sure if you get the support of your husband, it won't be long before I can lay my hands on it. Yeah. So you know what? That's because I love talking to you, because you're so powerful, and you mix humor and very touchy and serious subject at the same time, and that's what makes you such a great writer.
Thank you so much. I'm truly humbled, and thank you for giving me a platform to share my story. This is my first book, and that really means a lot to me.
Okay, at some point, every time I have a guest in the conversation, so we stop talking about literature and we switch to something lighter, cozier, because I know you and I are parents,
right?
And we head of households, and so I know you cook, right?
Yes.
And I live in suburban Jacksonville, and there are some great Indian restaurants.
Okay.
Now, is that the kind of cuisine that you normally have in the house?
Actually, the meals that they serve in the restaurants, obviously, they are the more fancy types, and but we do make them at home. I don't know. Have you tasted like tandoori chicken? That is a very famous dish, especially in the Indian restaurants out there. But
Yes.
yeah.
The
So I
first time I did it was my neighbor down the street, who was
okay,
from Delhi, from New Delhi, and
okay,
who took me to that restaurant over in
yes.
Jacksonville.
Yeah, yeah. I cook actually all sorts of dishes like India, definitely, because Indian states, each state they have their delicacies, so it's a wide range of cuisines. Like I come from the northeastern state of Assam,
Mm.
so the dishes that we make, they may be really different from from a South Indian state.
Okay.
So each state has their specialities, but
Mm.
I also make other dishes like Italian, Chinese, and Mexican, Thai,
But
and
can I say, Rashmi, that you love to cook?
yes, I love to cook. And
Maybe you think someday I'll be able to read a cookbook from you.
oh, let's see about that one. But and I like to mix and match. Like when I was studying in the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, I
Okay.
had a friend from Greece, and she taught me a famous Greek dish. It's called moussaka, which
Okay.
is made with eggplant, and then the two layers of eggplant, and in the middle they had minced meat. And
Mhm.
then I thought, once I had vegetarian guests in my house, and I thought, okay, why not give it Indian touch? Yes, so I substituted the meat with soya granules, and
Okay.
it turned out fabulous. And that's what I think. I think we learn so much from each other, and it is that
I can
what
tell you.
makes life so colorful.
I can tell you. I'm a passionate when it comes to cuisine, but I really love my Haitian cuisine because I'm from Haiti and
Absolutely,
the Caribbean.
absolutely.
They're very tasty, and but this day I don't. I'm trying to stay away from it because I know it's too fattening.
Uh-huh.
And my wife has put me on a very strict diet.
So you need to go by that.
But I really love it though. But I love, a lot of cuisine. Like I told you, when my neighbor down the street took me to that Indian restaurant, I
So
fell
did
in
you
love.
love the food? Did you love the food there?
Oh, I fell in love with it right then and there.
Oh, that's
It was, yeah, it
wonderful.
was interesting.
So maybe if you visit Atlanta someday, I will be cooking, specialities from my home state. That'll be awesome.
Okay, so how's that? So probably something we have to do sometime down the road, probably post-COVID though. Mm.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, what happened is that during COVID, since at the beginning we stopped eating outside,
Mm.
we cooked a lot at home. And my son, he has turned into a new chef. So
Really?
yes, so he's 25-year-old, and he
Uh-huh.
likes to experiment like all over the place. He enjoys doing that actually.
Okay. I'll be able to taste one of these cooking. How's that?
Absolutely, you're most welcome.
Now, other thing I want to ask, because I know authors, writers love also to read. They
Right.
say you read more than you write.
Uh-huh.
If I were to ask you who you would consider as your preferred author.
Okay, now coming to that, let me draw a comparison. Now, nature has presented us with beautiful colors, sights, and scenes. So, if I'm asked, what is my favorite color, it'll be really hard to pick. So
Mhm.
the same goes with authors. We have we have beautiful authors, but if you ask me, I go back to the classics. Charles Dickens, I really
Charles Dickens.
like his works, and Oliver Twist is one of my like favorites. Then I would mention Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. That is a
Mhm.
book I really loved.
Jane Austen, yeah.
And yes, and then coming to American literature, like Ernest Hemingway, A Farewell to Arms. Right now I'm aging, so I
Mhm.
think I'll forget. But there was one point of time when I could just, recite lines from the book. I really, love that book. And actually, we have a very good stream of contemporary Indian writers
Mhm.
who, yeah, they write beautifully. Jhumpa Lahiri, I like her writings. In fact, she won the Pulitzer Prize for her very first book, it was a collection of short stories, Interpreter of Maladies. That's really nice. And then recently she published a book. The name of the book is Whereabouts, and which is actually, it's very different from the rest of her books. It is, it's a very slim book, but I like reading her. So basically, whatever, I have so many authors that I love. But since you mentioned to pick one, then I would pick Charles Dickens.
Great. That's a beautiful summary. All right. So my last question to end the conversation.
Sure.
Okay. If someone, a writer or a reader, would someday decide to switch gear and follow your path at becoming such a impeccable author as you are, using humor, satire to spice a story. So what lesson would you give that person?
Actually, humor aside, for anyone who wants to write, the first thing that I would say is believe in yourself.
Correct.
And honesty and humility, that is what you really need to not just write a book, but to do everything in life. I was reading an interview by Indian American entrepreneur Indra Nooyi, and he said the line that stuck with me is that humility is the author of action. So to do anything, you have to have humility, sincerity, and honesty to write a book. And another thing is, don't be afraid to express your thoughts, because if you give too much, thought about, I write this and what will people say, who will like it or who will not like it, your creativity can never bloom, because you need to have an open mind. In fact, before I published this book, I was having a conversation with my son, and I asked him that, should I release this book? Will people like it? What do you think they will say? And then he came up with a very nice answer, and he said, Mom, you have written the book with honesty, and just remember that even the best of authors, they have people who may not like their writings, but does it stop them anyway from writing? And then I said, they are really the fine grains of wisdom. Sometimes you learn things even from people who are much younger than you. So that is what I would tell writers, that, follow your heart, be honest, and, move forward, run after your dreams, because, the sky is the limit and you can achieve it.
And, if I want to summarize everything you just said here, yesterday I had a very beautiful conversation with an Indian American author. Also, he's an architect and also a writer from Michigan. And he ends the conversation exactly. It's it right from the soul, if I just want to summarize it. So with that, Rashmi, I just want to say it's been more than a pleasure to have you this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it is Diwali for us. It's light over darkness. So a very happy Diwali. Let us spread, the love,
the message
all around the world.
Ultimately, yes.